Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking you through one of the raid bosses in recent raid testing that we were able to check out. The 5th boss in Vault of the Incarnates, which is DATHEA. And it's quite a cool boss, quite an interesting one. Very simplistic in some ways, but I did very much like it. I'm also going to be releasing videos over the next couple of days of the additional raid testing we did on Kurog and Broodkeeper, which is the 6th and 7th boss. Remember that Blizzard is not going to be having us players test out the final boss, the 8th boss. So that's going to be kind of just wacky and wild. We'll see how that ends up going. So we'll have these videos coming. I did want to, before we jump into some gameplay of the actual footage of the boss, I did want to show you guys some of the talent builds that I used in order to, like when we, in the kill, when we killed the boss. So I played around with a few different things. This boss in general was like a pure, well, it starts as a pure single target. He then, at 100 energy, will summon an ad that, once you kill, it then knocks you over to a platform. When you're on that platform, there's like 7 or so ads that you then need to AoE down as fast as possible, hitting interrupts and all that kind of stuff. So you do want burst AoE. Now, the way we initially did it is we had everyone going over to the platform, and then everyone coming back. But the boss stays targetable throughout the whole thing. So what it's probably going to be is similar to Zymox in Sepulchre, where you're going to send some people over and then everyone else is going to stay on the boss. Now, I was one of the people that was sent over towards the end and on the kill when we split it down into a group that goes over to the platform. So I introduced more burst AoE into my build while still complementing my single target with that AoE. So you can see in my build, I've got things like Primal Wrath, Brutal Slash, which is going to work in both burst and single target. I then have Apex, and I've got Rip and Tear there, which is going to again work in both instances. Also Apex, which is going to still proc on single target and still be okay on single target, especially with Circle, but it's also going to do well in AoE. So I'm getting like double value for it. I'm not taking a talent which is going to be completely dead once I'm away from the ads, like Tear Open Wounds or Rampant Ferocity. So I'm still being aware of my build when I'm investing in this AoE. I'm not taking like Double Clawed Rake and that kind of stuff. I did initially start with Adaptive Swarm as well, which I thought was good and performed well. I tried a Convokeless build, I think at one point as well throughout some of this raid testing, and it was fine. Adaptive Swarm was doing well. I just think that I preferred the kind of burst AoE of having Convoke, and honestly, I just kind of prefer playing with Convoke over Adaptive Swarm, but you could definitely play with Adaptive Swarm. It seemed like the damage was fairly reasonable in both. So, playing through some of this video then, I'll actually let you guys see the boss itself. This was actually the kill video, and I'm not going to show you the full fight, but I'll show you a good, decent length of it, and then we'll look through some logs so you can actually see a damage breakdown at the end of how we looked in the kill. Now, of course, this is just one build that I'm trying. I'm not saying that this is going to be the build. This is the perfect build. This is just a talent setup that I tried, and it seemed to do quite well. In general, anything I tested performed well. We were still sitting up at the 2nd or 3rd DPS in the fight for the majority of the time, and I think on the kill I ended up being like 2nd. I am ignoring the Boomkins. The Boomkins we know are broken. During the testing, they got nerfed with Fura. Fura got deleted mid-raid test. I've never seen a talent that happened to a talent before. And then they put out a message in the world chat saying, hey, Boomy's too strong, we're going to fix it. So we know Boomkin is busted. We're not even going to look at that. It's getting changed. Apart from that, our burst was good. Single target's good. We're playing with things like Brutal Slash and Blood Talons and Convoke and, you know, having some decent bite damage, some decent rip damage. It's good. Now on this boss, in terms of mechanically what's happening here, so this boss is kind of like Upper Workshop with the last boss, you know, where he kind of has these orbs, magnets that he's going to fly around the room periodically. That's what's happening with these cyclones around the map. Periodically, they will move to a new position and then they will sit there. Something that I should have tested actually on this boss is, I didn't have it though because of these servers, is Inky Black Potion. Inky Black Potion I feel like would be really, really good in this fight, and you'd be able to see stuff really clearly, especially people with these debuffs. You can see there are people with these rings around them. If they touch you, then they spread the debuff to you, so you want to spread away from them. But we get knocked over to this platform now. The ad gets summoned at 100 energy. We get knocked over to this platform, start killing through these ads, and you need to make sure that you're careful not to kill the volatile ad too quickly before the other ads are dead, because then this ad will start performing the blowback, regardless of if the other ads are alive or not. So then you'll just wipe. So you do need to be careful. You also need to be careful when you're getting thrown back over that you don't just bumble into a Cyclone like I just did. But as you can see, the Cyclones are non-lethal. If they hit you, they kind of just, they're more of a nuisance than anything. But apart from that, with this fight, you know, that's like the majority of how this fight works. You can see these Cyclones are going to move across the map now, so you got to be careful of that. You have these debuffs that you need to be able to spread with, so you need to be away from people. You're probably not going to take too many melee on this fight as a result, though if you're smart with your grouping, then you can probably afford to take, you know, you could probably take a good handful of melee and be okay. So at 100 energy, the boss summons another ad, and you just go through the cycle again. Same thing. Apart from that, the only other thing the boss really does is he'll do some tank mechanics, some, you know, some smacks on the tank, which is normal, and he'll also do a Cyclone, which kind of pulls everybody in, and you have to use some kind of movement speed ability to not enter into the center of the ring. It's a lot of mechanics on this boss are just borrowed from other bosses. So the Cyclone effect is the council boss in Streets, right? The dungeon there. The upper workshop is the Cyclones. Very similar mechanics to a lot of other bosses. You can see the Cyclone here now. So nothing really new that you're like, oh my god, how does this mechanic work? I've never seen this before. Now, this is the 5th boss. It's probably a little bit more simplistic than I'd like it to be, but I thought it was quite fun for raid testing, and it's only heroic. I think it's probably reasonable difficulty of a heroic boss in roughly, well, just past the 50% point. It could probably be tuned up a little bit in some ways, another mechanic added here and there maybe, or just something to kind of make it a little bit more complex in many ways. But that's kind of the boss there. That's you're seeing the thing. We're just going to go in that cycle around again. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the logs of this is the actual kill itself. So I was able to come second. Again, I'm not counting the boomkins. Shadow Priest was performing really quite well. And you can see my damage here. So my boss damage was quite good. I still had a lot of single target potential, and I will do a boss damage breakdown as well. But compared, and remember, I'm raiding with a very, very good guild, very skilled players. Obviously, number tuning hasn't been fully done yet, but it's good to see Feral is in a strong position to begin with, because it's really hard to justify the existence of a Feral Druid in raid when you have access to other things like, you know, as a Feral, you're competing against Boomkins for a DPS spot as Druid, but you're also competing against Warrior because of group buff, Demon Hunter because of group buff, Monk because of group buff, Rogue because of group buff, Shaman because of group buff. Like, there's multiple things. Holy Paladin is melee, right? There's a lot of things that you're competing with as Feral, so you want to be doing good boss damage there. In terms of actually looking at my boss damage breakdown, there you go. First Spite doing well, getting a lot of Ferocious Spite cast from Convoke. Brutal Slash performing well. Even on the boss, it was still doing decently well. Did about a quarter of its damage or so to the boss. Tear doing well on the boss as well as the ads. That's very, very important to note. So very good talent there. And I liked with this build kind of taking talents that were just synergistic. They were good on AoE and they were good on single target, and it just made sense to run them. So that was good. You can see my actual boss damage breakdown then. So just looking at DATHEA completely and seeing where I'm at compared to the rest of the raid. You can see there, I do drop off a little bit, but you got to remember, I'm going over to the platform. So I'm losing boss uptime, and I'm still performing quite well. So Feral's in a good spot there. Another thing as well was the healing. So in this pull in particular, my healing wasn't amazing, but I did 200k with Nature's Vigil. That could have definitely been higher, and there are definitely moments where you'd be able to, your healers can call for a Nature's Vigil, and you can do that, and then your raid leader can call for a Stampeding Roar. Boom, you've got that. Top of that, we have this new regrowth talent, which is going to be potentially really good and allow us to do some really good spot healing on an individual target that might be dropping, and weave that in with our globals. But that's the whole thing. That's the video. That's a review of the boss. I hope that you guys liked seeing a little bit of DATHEA, and I'm going to have Kurog and Broodkeeper coming soon. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see me doing more raid testing, it's going to be happening this Friday. So today's Wednesday. This Friday, there's going to be more raid testing. We got 3 bosses, one of which is Mythic. Not sure what the bosses are going to be yet. We don't know, but we'll see very, very soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. Come check me out on twitch.tv/Psybear_TV. See you then. Peace.